All right, 7th grade, it's your last grammar assignment for the year. So these 2 pages that you have, 190 and 191, exercises A and B, both go along with what you had last week, which is using adjectives correctly. So your first one, your double comparison. So if it has ER on the end, it doesn't need more in front of it. My dog is more bigger than yours is the example. You don't need both. You just need the appropriate one for the word you're using. So big is 1 syllable, so you just need the ER on the end. And then number 7, it says if you are comparing a person to a group that they are a part of, so maybe like Dad to the family, Lindsay to the class, then you have to have other or else in there when you're comparing it. So instead of saying Elias is smarter than any student, you say any other student. Or Lindsay is more reliable than anyone in her family, you say than anyone else in her family. And then your last 2 rules, okay? If you can count the items physically, like the number of books, you use fewer. And if it's a substance like water that you can't physically count, then you use less. And then the last one, them is never used as an adjective. Use those instead. So instead of saying them planes are too noisy, those planes are too noisy. All right, exercise A, I'm going to move over here. You have paragraphs, or not paragraphs, what am I thinking? Parentheses. And as far as your parentheses, you have 2 choices of words, and then you choose whichever one is correct. So for number 1, it says use fewer or use less flour in the recipe. You cannot physically count flour, so less is correct. Number 2, Jace is the most wisest or wisest person I know. The first one, you don't need the double comparison. Wise or wittiest. What am I? I'm having trouble reading today. Wittiest person I know. Number 3, Peter was more headstrong than any other of our Lord's apostles. So if he's part of that group, then you need other in there. Number 4, have you finished grading them papers or those papers, class? Them is not an adjective. Those it is. Number 5, Gettysburg was the bloodiest or most bloodiest battle of the Civil War. You don't need the double comparison. Bloodiest it is. 6, Bradley can bat better than anyone or better than anyone else on his team. Have to have the else, so he's not compared to himself. And then number 7, the snail is the slowest or most slowest land creature. No double comparisons for us. Slowest it is. All right, exercise B starts down at the bottom and continues on the next page. So all of these sentences have errors with the adjectives. So you're going to cross out the errors and then correct them, okay? So number 1, New York is the most largest city in the U.S. We've got a double comparison there. Large is 1 syllable, so I want to keep the EST. So I cross out most. 2, I borrowed all them books from the public library. Them needs to be changed to those. All right, let me go to my next page here. Number 3, the Pharisees, more than anyone in Israel, should have welcomed the Messiah. So if you see a group part of, or someone, like this is a group part of a bigger group, then it needs to have than anyone else in Israel. Number 4, there are less Muslims than Hindus in India. So, can you count people? Yes, you can. So you want to use fewer. Number 5, many synthetic fibers are more stronger than our natural materials. Double comparison. So we want to get rid of, that's right, more. 6. Listening to others is one of the most finest arts. I have a hard time reading some of these. So double comparison, fine is one syllable, so we keep the EST. Number 7. By Tuesday, we should have learned all 3 of them verses. Immediately of those verses. And 8, the mayor told them rioters to disperse quietly. All right, hopefully you're looking at them and thinking it needs to be gone and it needs to be changed to those. Number 9, since the price of beef has risen, our family has eaten less steaks. Well, you can physically count a steak, so we don't want to use less. We use fewer. And then number 10, extending some 2,300 miles, the Volga is the most long river in Europe. Now, we don't have a double comparison here, but long is one syllable. So we don't add it to the front. We add EST to the end of the word, the longest river in Europe. Okay? So all of these sentences have something you'll need to correct. There's not a single correct one. So make sure you read carefully. Okay? And that is your last grammar assignment for the year.